An error occurred. Hold on.
You got it.
Oh, we are live. We are live. Okay. Okay, great. Welcome to another episode of Chiropractic is Sexy. I am Dr. Paula Ruffin.
I'm Dr. Erica Peabody. We're happy to be here with you all. An error occurred on my side. What is it saying?
Yeah, it's some error on.
Oh, you're live. Now I'm live somewhere.
Well, that
okay, off we go.
I know. So I said, here we go. We don't have Ken here helping us out, so we are like tripping through this a little bit. But,
yeah, we don't have our producer. Our normal producer is not here.
Right. So watch this as we pull a rabbit out of a hat.
Yeah.
Ken, we miss you.
Yes.
Well, welcome to another episode of Chiropractic is Sexy. This was inspired by Dr. Erica. She had I don't know if I call it an incident, but an interaction. And it not only is it timely, but we hear what she's going to talk about. We hear this all the time, and there's always an excuse. So, are you still waiting for life to slow down before you take care of your health? That's really the crux of what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to let you take it away. And give us...
Yep. I have this patient. She's been under care. Sometimes I like to just give, let's see. I just want to see an age. She's 40. Okay. So she's been under care for a long time now, and she does taxes. And we all know tax season is the most fun season of all the times, but she has an accountant, and she ends up working. So she's worked it out that she works 6 days a week through April 15th. And then the rest of the year, she only works 4 days a week, which that's awesome. Like to bust a move and then get every Friday off after that is, I don't know. I think everybody should have Friday off, truly. But anyway, so yesterday she was in and we were talking, and I was asking her about her workouts. And because she said, oh yeah, I went to Pilates last night. And I'm like, well, what about the rest of the days? Because you guys, I don't even care what you did last night. I care what's trending in your life, what patterns are in your life. And so I said, oh, so you went last night. What about the rest of the week? Because I am not giving anybody a cookie for one workout. I'm not giving anybody cookies, but you know what I mean? So I'm not even going to give you a high five for one workout. What I'm going to do is give you a high five when you show me some trends in your life about taking care of yourself. So anyway, she said, I said, you don't even get a 20-minute walk or anything in? Like, can you figure out how to make that work? She's like, yeah, I probably could figure out how to make that work. And I'm like, listen, 3 months out of the year, and it's actually 3.5 months, truly, of busting a move and sitting in a chair long hours. For every hour you sit in a chair, you need an hour out of a chair. So you guys got to figure that out. If you're sitting in a chair for 8 hours, somehow figure out the other 8 hours of not sitting in a chair to unwind that. Pose, counter pose, pose, counter pose. And so anyway, I said to her, I'm like, I said, here's my advice to you. Put some sneakers on your feet, walk out of your house set your alarm for 10 minutes. When it turns 10 minutes, turn around and walk back home. We have to get that exercise. We have to get the movement in, you guys. I don't care who you are. There's no shortcut around this. And so I said, well, here's the thing. I'm like 3 months of doing one Pilates class per week sets you so far back in 1 week, but it really sets you far back. And that's a quarter of the year. We cannot spend 1 quarter of each year not moving and expect at the end of that quarter to feel good. And it's the sedentary, it's the sitting in front of a computer, it's the screen time, it's all of that. And so that's why we wanted to come to you as we finish up March. And we don't, this is a good time to look back and see what your plan was for the year, but also like, what did you do for the last quarter, and what can you and can you not afford to do for a quarter?
Did you give up on your New Year's resolutions?
Yeah.
Does that, are you still doing the things that you told yourself you were going to do as you came into the beginning of this year, or did you give up on that too?
Yeah.
So this is start again.
Yeah.
And, I taught a workshop last night. It was called Fuel Your Brain. And we talked a lot about nervous system dysregulation and things to do. And we put these charts up on the wall that have topics on them. And each person had to fill out a sticky note about where they are at in relation to the topic. And one of the things talked about what I struggle with. And one of the answers had said, working for longer than 20 minutes at a time. And I said, just don't, because your brain cannot handle that. So my challenge to everybody was set a timer for 20 minutes, and then you work straight, you work hard, and then you get up and you walk around for 5, and then you come back and you set your timer for 20 minutes. You will get so much more accomplished in slicing out 20-minute chunks throughout your day and then building in movement in between that than you ever will if you decide to try to sit down and go straight through for hours on end. And it's not serving you. It's stagnancy. You can't get blood flow. Your brain can't function properly. Your muscles are like just sitting there and they're tightening and tightening. And you feel that, but then you feel guilt if you get up and move. So are you going to spend 1/4 of your life every year not doing anything and taking care of yourself? That is no way to add to your longevity.
No. And I can watch her specifically, as the time goes by, she's like, oh, I'm more and more stiff and sore. And I'm like, yeah, our bodies are designed for movement. And, but also it's like, once you're not moving, then you're also not eating well. And you're also, because you didn't get the movement in, you're also not sleeping well. And then because you didn't get that in, you're also not really conscientious about what you're drinking. And then you're also not doing some of the other things. One of the other factors I've been really talking to patients about is, and this should be and could be a whole topic. So sometimes people will say, oh, it's too expensive to do the things that I need to do. So a lot of this stuff is free. So it's free to put your sneakers on and walk outside. Water, hydration, sleep is free. Meditation is free. Breath work is free. Yes, you can go and participate with a group or something like that. Maybe you need to add in a little bit of money towards that. But it costs $4,500 to upwards of $11,000 a month to be in assisted living. If you took 1 month at the cheap side of that, the $4,500, the cheap, and you took $4,500 for your year and you started to contribute and take some things and schedule them into your year, that's 1 month of assisted living. And that's not even with any care. If you have advanced care, you're getting up to $9,000, $11,000, $14,000 a month. And so I'm sorry, your excuses don't work here anymore. They just don't work with us. And it's like, no, the other day I did a video, it was Tuesday. So I worked my hours at my satellite office in the morning and I got back home to around 4:30 and I sat down on the couch. Guess what? I could have sat there for the rest of the night. And that's what a lot of people choose to do. I know I'm not at all motivated to walk that night, not at all, but I'm disciplined. I have discipline that says you are required to take care of this body. So I got up and I went for a 3-mile walk, 3.3-mile walk, and I wanted to do another one. I love that.
You get energy. It fuels your brain. It fuels your body. Yeah. You sleep better. And there are no excuses. I love how you said that. Your excuses are not welcome here. And that's what it becomes when people are like, it's too expensive to do X, Y, and Z. It costs zero to tune into this show and learn. It costs zero to go to your refrigerator and go get a glass of filtered water. It costs zero to sit down in complete silence and quiet your brain. These are things that cost nothing. And I know, we always talk about chiropractic care being the number one foundational thing you can do for nervous system regulation. And I also recognize that you have stress going throughout the whole day and then perhaps even a season, so tax season. And it is going to be summer season here soon also. And that's another excuse for people. Oh, it's summer. I want to party. I want to be on the lake. I'm just going to drink and eat myself into oblivion and then try to catch up throughout the winter. It doesn't work like that. Like, you have got to be more mindful of what you are doing that is setting you into a catastrophic state, really, and making sure that you are making better decisions around that. So no, it doesn't cost anything to do things that are free. I don't know how else to say it. Yeah.
I
A little bit
know
of
a
water, a
lot
little
of
bit of
it.
movement, a little bit of
Yeah.
mindset.
Go take like 3 deep breaths.
Right.
Like do that on the hour, every hour, do that on the hour, every half hour, whatever. There's so many things, because that is the next excuse. So now it's summer. Well, first of all, it's spring. So then everybody that hasn't moved in winter.
Spring break. We're coming into spring break.
Oh, starts with spring break, which is next week. But then it goes into spring, and everyone's trying to clean up their yard with a body that they haven't moved in 3 months. And so now you're out there and you're super inspired. And I get that. Totally get that. But you haven't moved and you haven't stretched and you haven't done the things to take care of your body. I'm sorry. If your body starts to complain because you were outside doing 2 to 4 to 9 hours worth of yard work, yeah, you actually didn't earn the right to get your body out and do that. But I'm glad you did, because the fresh air, but you can get seriously injured. Like, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing? That also brings me all the way back around to the people that sit 8 hours. So drive an hour, commute to work, then sit 8 hours a day. Maybe you take an hour lunch, but you go and you sit for lunch. Maybe you've got a 20-minute walk. That's awesome. So sit an hour, drive to the CrossFit gym and kill it. Also, you're setting yourself up for injury. I love CrossFit. I love CrossFit for the community that it creates. But to go and take a still and stuck body and take it right and kill it out in the yard, like, yeah, yes, you are going to feel that. And yes, you are going to be injured. And then if you let's just add in, through the wintertime, you decided to do one of those injections that helped you lose weight. Now you've tightened up all your muscles. You've lost a ton of muscles. And now you are, I don't know how many avulsion fractures are you seeing lately? Like where the muscle is tearing. Like I'm seeing a lot of like, oh, I not only tore my Achilles off of my heel, but I also, this bicep tendon finally gave. Like it's all of those things that wrap into this thing we call health, and come here and talk about it. Hi, Hannah. Come and talk about it all the time, every week. So anyway, yeah, we're seeing a ton of that.
Yeah, it is critical to pay attention to that. And you don't want to be injured to begin with, but you also don't want to be injured throughout the summer. We talk about this and how we start to emerge as it starts to get warmer and people want to get out and start doing more, because we have slowed down. The reality is it is harder to be as active. So it does have to be far more intentional through these winter months. So now that it's getting nicer out, if you've kept yourself at least strong, maintain that foundation through the winter, not completely ignored yourself. Now going into spring and summer, you have that resilience. You have the strength, that foundation to rebuild upon, and then head into summer and really enjoy all of the things that summer has to bring, and be more active and be able to do more things and get out and see more people. You don't want to be injured, but summer's not the time to be laid up either. So.
Right. No, I have a patient that's really due. She's actually overdue for a knee replacement, but she's got a lot of stuff that she wants to do with her summer. So she's like, I'm not giving up my summer. So what she's doing instead is she's making sure that she's taking proper supplements, but that she's also moving as much as possible. And she just, we understand joint replacements. It's never a good idea, but a last ditch effort after you've done all the things. And so she's like, I'm not going to miss out on my summer, but in smaller ways than knee replacement, right? In smaller ways, we're letting the things that get us to a vibrancy point. We let some of those things slip, and it doesn't serve us. I had a patient in last week, and she was dealing with vertigo, and I don't think I talked about it here, but I know I said follow us both on Instagram and Facebook, because we've got lots of things daily tips basically going out there too. But I was talking about, she's got major vertigo, but she took 6 weeks off of care and she has a tendency towards vertigo anyway. And over the last 4.5 years, she's been so diligent with her care that she stayed ahead of so many things. And she feels younger and more vibrant than ever. And work got in the way out of the last 6 weeks, even though she's on a monthly plan. She's got, 3 visits to use per month, decided to skip those for whatever reason. And then last week she came in with severe vertigo. She had to take 3 days off of work. Her daughter's bridal or baby shower was this past weekend. And we got her to the place where she was okay. She's still working with it, but she's like, I don't know why I was thinking that I was just going to come in this Monday, 2 Mondays ago, and you would have just handled everything. I'm like, here's the thing. I didn't, when I sent you off with your last adjustment, I didn't bubble wrap you when I sent you off. And I didn't put a shield around you, and I didn't angel guard your world. And I didn't life happens, you guys. And so she's like, oh, I haven't been here.
Magic wand.
Yeah. Just I haven't been here in 6 weeks. And of course I deserve this. I'm like, I don't think you deserve this. You do not deserve anything going on with your body. So I want that to go away. Don't ever say that again. Nobody deserves that level of vertigo. And what we need to do is just make sure that we keep the regular cadence that keeps your body moving forward. This is not her dependency on chiropractic. This is the fact that we've recovered her completely. I should talk about her health journey sometime. Recovered her completely over the last 4.5 years. And we don't get to stop because we're aging every single day. And every single day our body is headed towards, isn't entropy a natural phenomenon where everything's constantly headed towards chaos? Mm-hmm. We have to rewire. We have to reset. There's no way around it. And there's nothing else that does it like a chiropractic adjustment.
And the other problem with that is it only gets worse as you get older. Yeah. It is so much harder to recover as you get older. So maintaining that foundational base, finding time in the chaotic moments. I have a patient who is very sporadic with taking care of her health, works at a health club when she's in town just for fun. She's an event planner, so she travels a lot for auto shows and things. And so long days, early morning, late night, lots of travel. She says, oh, I never get a chance to exercise when I'm on the road because we have to be up so early. And I'm thinking, you really need to carve that time out. Mm-hmm. I get that there's a stuff going on, but there's also, and I don't know about the employers or anything like that, but I'm just thinking, you can't drive your humans to that level of complete chaos either, because you're going to lose your workforce. Yeah. So you have to allow people the opportunity that, especially if they travel, to make sure, hey, you've got this amount of time each and every day, go to the gym, go exercise, go take a walk or something so that they can be taking care of themselves. But that's another thing that I see is that people are driven not necessarily by choice, but almost by force, because it's what their work schedules dictate of them. And that is something that needs to be, you've got to go to management or whatever. But for the people, for the rest of the people who have the ability, you're working from home or you're in an office and you can get up and you can move. If you're an accountant, I understand you're under a timeline, but taking some time, taking even 10 minutes to get up and take a walk every hour, a couple of hours, your bandwidth will expand beyond your wildest dreams. You will actually find you'll be more productive. You'll get more done than if you saved up those 10 minutes and you did nothing with them and you just sat in your little cubicle and tried to get all that work done. Your body's not built for that.
Yeah. I was listening to a podcast this morning. They were talking about how that's a great question, Ghetto Hippie. So we'll address that in a minute. They were talking about that the tech industries, Facebook and Meta in particular, are being sued, and they're going to have to be paying out. They're trying to now, appeal the verdict, but they are going to be paying out $1 billion. 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 $1 bajillion dollars, I don't even know how much, because they have used the psychology of addiction to get people, and teenagers in particular, get people completely addicted. And also that leads to addiction and depression, because they've used some psychological warfare in order to develop their products. It was really interesting to listen to the podcast this morning, because Dr. Paula and I also we fall victim to that doom scrolling too. Like, it's so impossible not to, but we also are disciplined in the fact that, okay, I've been scrolling for 20 minutes now. Now it's time to get my butt up and now go for a walk. Like, give ourselves a minute to, just check in or check what we need to do or whatever. Yeah, advertising is psychological warfare.
Mhm.
And it'll be really interesting to watch this thing go all the way through. So I want to back up, Ghetto Hippie, and talk about the addiction to chiropractic, because some people will say that and it's such a myth, but here's what happens. People start coming in to get adjusted, and it's like when your computer gets a chance to do Control Alt Delete and that hard reboot and the hard reset. That is the feeling of what happens with the body. Yes, people come in for pain. Yes, they come in for this, they come in for that. That's not what we're doing, even though our adjustments address that. What we're really doing is a hard reset for your nervous system and allow your brain a chance to, number one, slow down, get to parasympathetic mode, but also increase vagal tone, increase the immune system, and give your body a moment. I can tell you, and I'm going to put some signs down the sidewalk this summer that's going to say, now that you've been adjusted, go for a walk around the block. Because one of the greatest things you could do after an adjustment is like, give your nervous system a moment. Instead of picking your phone right back up, instead of getting right back in your car, like, give your nervous system a moment after that, because it's profound rewiring of the information superhighway of your body. It's profound.
Mm-hmm. And people will say that. They'll get up off the table like, oh my God, I feel better already.
Yeah.
I don't even think most of the time they're not even saying it from a pain perspective. They always go like this. They're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
They just release the tension. They feel freer. They feel lighter. They get off the table. I particularly love this. Like when I adjust somebody and then they start laughing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, talk about an endorphin release. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
you just release so much tension that they start laughing and giggling. I'm like, there you go. Like, that's healing right there. So that level of addiction comes from feeling so amazing and understanding that it's far beyond the pain, far beyond, people think of us for neck and back pain, but then they come to us and then they're like, wow, this is way more than I had even bargained for. And yes, I want those things because of the longevity, and I want to have more energy, and I want to feel better and move better, because I have been feeling like complete garbage for so many years and no one's been able to help me. And then they come to the chiropractor, and we are the ones that are able to get their bodies moving in that positive motion and get them into self-healing and self-regulation and get the body to adapt properly. Because the problem is, we're in a world where we are training our bodies in a way that it stays dysregulated. We're training in a dysregulated state. When you come to the chiropractor and we adjust you, we're starting to change that pattern. We change these nerve patterns. They turn into more balanced, positive patterns. And now your body has the ability for greater adaptation for anything. So the stress around you doesn't particularly change. It's now your response to that stress that then allows you to feel that much better. So long way of saying, yes, people get addicted to it.
Yeah. And I know, so Ghetto Hippie, you have the word endorphins up there. So when people think about endorphins, if we just want to back up for a second, the endorphins of, like, people think about that of like the feel good chemicals, and when you're in love, and when you just had a great workout, or, those kinds of things. Like, those are the actual biochemical parts of the body that create actual healing. And so when the endorphins are released, they're released from a center in the brain that's also the same center as laughter. And so when people are on the table, sometimes their very first adjustment, like we know we hit the healing center because they're cracking up laughing. Like we know we've hit that healing and we know we hit it anyway. Like that's just, it's just a kind of a given for us as chiropractors. Like we already know, but it's really fun when we also get the laughter on the adjusting table, because that is the flush of endorphins that come along with love, with connection, with healing, with growth, with evolution, with movement, with all of that. Like that is the healing centers. And we have direct beeline connection to the healing centers, and it stimulates that, which also increases the immune system and the immune response too. So it's super complex. We've talked about, it's really hard to like grasp the tangible effects because it's so broad. Like, yes, we help nerves function better. Yes, we can help with the pain that's going down the arm. Yes, we can help with numbness and tingling and stuff like that. That is like using your iPhone for text message only. Like the effects of it are so massive. We could never fully put words on it. It's like soul expression, light from within, connected to the actual physical vehicle we get to walk around in. And it's really, really awesome to work with.
And so are you going to wait? Are
Right.
we going to wait? We're just going to keep putting
We're
that
gonna wait
off?
for a quarter. We're going to wait for a quarter.
That off? I mean, Dr. Eric and I have both had experiences where if we've been like injured, or which isn't often, but or had a cold, like we both had recent colds this past winter, where we've been on the couch for 2 or 3 days at a time. And while yes, it's a lot harder to get up and get moving again, it's also easier after you get past the hard, if that makes sense. Like your body remembers, but if your body has no memory of that whatsoever, it's going to feel like a battle. It's going to feel like a struggle. It's going to be hard. And, we've said too, like that aging is the constant and continuous pursuit of ease, of comfort and ease, because we don't want to feel discomfort. We're like, oh, that hurts. Let me take a Tylenol. Oh, that hurts. That might hurt. Let me take an Advil. We are too conditioned for this level of comfort. Like your body is designed. It's even more than a Ferrari. It's like a Maybach, right? It's like, what's the most expensive car? Rolls Royce. I don't even know. Yeah. But it's like that and then some. And we only scratch the surface of our ability to challenge it. And then some people are like, they just want to put it in the garage and leave it there and just look at it. And you're never going to challenge that vehicle. Like that vehicle needs to get challenged. So that's how the human body is. Your brain needs to be challenged. Your body needs to be challenged. You will be more resilient because of it. But you cannot just sit on the sidelines and then wait. And, oh, my kids have this. And, and I know a lot of moms, they take their kids to soccer. They have to be at all the practices and the games, but there's usually a track. And so they end up doing their walking, getting their miles in. You can't just sit there on the bench and watch your kid for hours on end. First of all, you'll go absolutely out of your mind, but also you've got to be moving. If you're making that commitment to your kid, there needs to be a sacrifice. Like you're sacrificing that. It's okay. They'll be okay if you don't have eyeballs on them for 3 solid effing hours. Okay. Like your kid will be fine. So get up and walk, move your body, go to the little calisthenic area, find a gym inside of whatever building you're at, like move your body. Your kid will live, your kid will survive. So,
well, the other part too is our world has taught us so much to avoid the pain. Like Dr. Paula was saying, where you're like, take an Advil, take a Tylenol. I have a slight headache, do this, do that, do whatever you can to get away from it. And I'm just going to share a little personal story of grief over the last month. So I lost a really good friend, and the only way to get through grief is to take it right straight down the middle. And I was working with a grief counselor that has a different approach to things. And they were talking about like Grief isn't necessarily something to escape, even though a lot of the medical field and even psychology will say, get away from it as soon as possible. Get away from the pain, get away from the heartache, get away from whatever. All that does is it kicks it down the road. All it does is do that. And Dr. Paula and I we've been in practice for a long time and have dealt with our own heartbreaks through the years. And it's like, you can never kick this stuff down the road. You can't kick grief down the road. You can't kick pain down the road. You can't kick things down the road. And so our world has taught us to get out of it as soon as possible, but that does not help us do the actual integration of it. And also with our bodies. So that's one of the most powerful parts about chiropractic is that it doesn't say, get away from this. It says, let's get in there. Let's start to take this potential stored friction and tension and friction. I'm like traction. And I don't know the word.
Traction. Tension
and tension and friction. So let's take that and let's see what's there to be experienced. And then let's help you create rewire some pathways so that instead of getting stuck there and getting this knot in my shoulder, you know what I mean? Like we hear this all the time. Guess what that is? It's time to deal with that. And it's a stored constriction, tension, friction stored in there. We can get in there and start moving
all the
things.
addictions.
Our body starts to move things. Same with grief. Same with getting healthy. Everything is straight down the middle and there's no escaping any of it. We just build a bigger mountain.
And this podcast, whenever I do a live stream, so we'll just use this 30 minutes, which is about what we do. When I get finished here, and it's because we're like engaged and we're passionate, we're intense. And when this podcast is over every single week, my neck and shoulders are so tense because I've been engaged. I've been right here. I'm like, yeah, let's get into it. And if I didn't get up, if I just then moved to the next task at the computer workstation, I would trash myself for the day. So whenever this is done, whenever we finish, or if I'm doing another live stream anywhere else, I always get up. I never stay at the computer. I always get up and I move and I change locations and I make sure that I'm being mindful of my nervous system and what it needs. It cannot survive if I don't take care of it. So that's just stop waiting for the time to get better. And I hear this a lot too, when people are like, oh, I want to do a detox, or I want to get on a healthy diet. I want to change my eating. And then they're like, oh, but there's a birthday, and then I have a wedding, and then I have this, and then I have that. And I'm like, there's never a good time. Like, it's never a good time. So start now. And I don't expect anyone to function. Well, I expect you to function at 100%, but I don't necessarily expect you to be perfect in those habits. We have always taught that if you live 90% of your life doing all of the right things, you have a buffer of 10% to go out and eat the piece of cake and, go out and have an indulgent meal with some friends, or, I'll say maybe skip a walk, maybe, but that's so yeah.
No, it's really true. Like, it doesn't take a lot, but it does take, it goes back to, I was talking about, don't be a zero. Like, just because you don't have anything going on right now, or maybe you do feel pretty meh, like nothing's really good nor bad, like you're just like, do something to move the needle regardless, because I can tell you that $4,500 to $14,000 a month that you're going to pay in assisted living, I'm telling you, go spend it now and spend it on your living rather than waiting and having to spend it in assisted living. Yeah. It's just, the time is now. So what you screwed up the first quarter of the year. So what? Start again.
Get into it. Start again. Don't throw in the whole towel.
Yeah. Start again.
Yeah. And ghetto hippie sitting has been seen as the new smoking. And that's because lack of movement has just as detrimental effects on the human body. It's different, but it's equal in many different ways without getting too much in the physiology. But you can't just sit all day and expect good things to happen for your health. You can't sit all day and expect your body's going to heal from that. You can't skip exercises. You can't skip the healthy meals. You can't skip. And then a year goes by even, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't squat down anymore. And then what do? You go, I can't squat down because it hurts. I just won't squat down. And then you stop doing key critical things that your body is required to do and has the capacity to do, but because a few little aches and pains and your unwillingness to maintain that, now you're too stiff, you're not mobile, you're too tired, and you don't have the resiliency. And then God forbid you have a fall. That's where the rubber is going to meet the road. Yeah. And that is where, as we get older, when women say, I'm too afraid to fall, that's a big deal. If you're afraid to fall, then make sure you're setting yourself up for success and don't ignore it and stop waiting for things to slow down before you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for all of your engagement today, you guys and gals who are out there. It's been great.
Appreciate y'all being here. Make sure you hit the thumbs up from whatever platform you are on. Leave a comment, subscribe. It helps our views. It helps our channel. And again, we appreciate everybody being here, and hopefully we'll have Ken back next week. So we'll see you guys next week for another episode. All right. See ya.